Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. So in today's session, let's consider that we want to get as close to the release as we can. So we need to stabilize and we need to get the system ready for the actual use, the production use. We do have a bug over here, which is a ticket submission success page is empty. I don't really worry about that too much. I started thinking of the ticket status, or basically ticket history. So we can store the history of how ticket has changed. And I was thinking something like, previous status, new status, previous assignee, new assignee, maybe some message, or storing a JSON map which will have all the fields of the ticket, previous value, new value, right? So for that reason, I don't necessarily want to tackle it right now. I did add a logout functionality, and what we do need to have is the ability to store, to revive the session from cookie, which, at this point it is kind of a just for my usage, right? Because right now the session expires like really quickly. I think about not even 20 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes. So I can extend that or get a cookie authenticator. But it is not documented, so I need to actually reach out to the documentation or to the code, the documentation inside the code, to find that authenticator. They were here, building action. It was here somewhere. The authenticators, here, authenticators. Yeah, so it's session form token, JWT, basic digest cookie authenticator, aka remember me. Blah blah blah, blah blah blah, usage. Okay. So this is on login. So let's paste that. So we have it in the user's controller. Here we have a login action, but that's not what we need. This is in get authentication service, so it's going to be an application and authentication middleware. Now where did we add that get authentication service on this one? Right, because you changed the application to implement authentication service provider interface, which forces it to have to implement get authentication service. This is where we configure it. So we have two authenticators, session and form, and we are adding a cookie authenticator. So login URL will be, no, not router URL. Name is users login. Okay, so we have this done. Now in our form control we need to have remember me. So let's check our, we didn't add the actual form class, right? And we're not using it to render, or as far as I remember. Let's check, because maybe we did. Nope. Oh, we did. Yeah. Okay. So I actually didn't even know. I mean, didn't know, I didn't remember. Obviously I wrote it. Yes, new login form. So let's add a field. Hang on, if we add it here, is it going to be required? No, the validation is here. So that is going to be called remember me, and the type boolean, right? I think that's, oh, type checkbox, not boolean. No, hang on. I looked at the wrong code. Let's see, add field, and we have the attributes for the type as a string, but it doesn't give me the okay, it does type, yeah, so I think but I would expect this one to be text, right? If this was, in this case, checkbox here instead of boolean, then I would expect that this would be text, not string. So we're just going to follow the primitives, and we'll see if that works. We don't require presence, and we don't really execute here. Okay, so we have that. Now we need that actual checkbox. This is email, password, remember me. This is label, this is input. It's called form example, but that's fine. We can do value 1. Although it's evaluated, like if it is in the post, that means it has been checked. So the value doesn't really matter. If it's not in the post data, it hasn't been checked. But we need to, this need the name. We don't have the name. So the name has to be remember me.
Morning, babe.
Morning. So that will pass it, and after logging in, if the checkbox was checked, you should see a cookie in your browser. So I don't so I don't have to store that cookie myself. Okay, let's test it. Is it really that simple? Let's go to application cookies, right? We have session and cross-site request forgery token, admin, and remember me, and there is cookie out. Okay, so that means the session will not expire on me anymore, but we'll see that as we go. But that's, as I said, that's just to help the user that operates the system, aka myself. This is not anything pressing. The ticket history and all that. What we really need is the address. So on our form, the submit form, templates, ticket, success, submit ticket. We have all kinds of elements that we're rendering based on the configuration. Disable bench fee, require address, right? So let's close everything and let's open our return address. our form is done. So our tickets controller, but not in admin, this one accepts this data, submit ticket, but it doesn't really store it. So we have form data here, and so now so once we generated the ticket, we persisted ticket over here, right, with new address over here, which and it returns our ticket, but our ticket domain object, right, which we are not going to be using for now. Is this the only use of persist ticket? It is, and the return entity is not even used for anything. So let's do this. First, let's change the return type to BHR ticket, and let's ignore the address, which hasn't been used anyways. So this only persists the ticket, nothing more, and it returns BHR ticket. Entity there. So this is our modification. At first we are still not catching something. Invalid ticket identifier. Okay, so let's do invalid ticket identifier. Let's just, because we were just emitting something went wrong, because this will go wrong only if there is actually something wrong with the system. The ticket cannot be persisted or whatever. We're gonna hook up Sentry to at least to this one, so we can just monitor any issues that will arise. Okay, so this is persisted ticket entity. Now, if it has been persisted, so here we're handling bench fee and creating payment request. And the other payment request, and payment requested, right, and we redirect you to make payment for that ticket if you so chose to pay up front. So before that happens, if you provided the address, that's what we want to do. So if you provided the address, now we want to store that address. We don't even have the table for it. So first let's gather the data from post. If, let's call it address provided. This is where we're going to store it. Now address provided will be form data. So label name, BHR shipping name, BHR shipping address, address 2, shipping city, shipping zip. That's pretty much all we need. Oh, and the state, obviously, and some additional info. So the address is provided when we do receive name. So we could just do it this way, right? Or we could just do not empty, like so. at least one line is required. We can ignore the other line. City, zip, and state. Let's reformat. Okay, so if this condition is met, so you provided everything, that means you provided the return address. So shall we create an object? Not ready. Not ready. Our ticketing service handles persistence, so we're gonna do ticketing service save address, and we're gonna provide a ticket. So for this address, and it's gonna return so for this to work, we need to hang on, too fast. Well, what's the address? So we want shipping name. So let's break it down like this. Shipping address. No, shipping name, shipping address. We can just copy this, paste it here, and just get rid of this, and like so. Like so. And we need address 2. What was it, underscore 2 or just 2? Underscore 2. Okay, so that gives us the whole data that we need in save address method. Now let's get them all strings. This is boring, Raf. This is boring. Well, life is boring sometimes. So before we add a return address over here, we need to have the entity. So let's bake migration. And the migration is going to be called addresses. Well, doesn't really matter what it's called. Let's add it. And the table is going to be called addresses. Our first column is going to be a foreign key, which we don't really need to make it a foreign key at the moment, which will be ticket ID That is the actual ID, the primary column of the ticket, not the tracking ID, which we call ticket ID. Yeah, not ideal, but what are you gonna do? Type is integer, and null is false. I've been doing a lot of migrations in Laravel lately, so I will be getting confused between those two because they are plenty different. Although the general idea is the same, but syntactically it's different. And then we want, and let's call them the same as the tickets, as the names. So we have BHR shipping name, and that needs to be string, and null, yeah, it can be nullable, doesn't matter. So let's do this, string, string, like so, and 2, 3, 4, 5, was it? Address line 2, shipping city, zip, shipping state, shipping info, and create. Right, we're not gonna need anything more, and we forgot about shipping info. There. And where we call it, we also need to do BHR shipping info. And there. Shipping info is not required, or if you don't provide it, the address is still considered provided. So with that, let's migrate. Oops. Oh, you see, I wanted to type artisan. Okay, and since it's migrated, we're gonna bake model addresses, which means now my ticketing method can return address. All right, so my address will be this fetch, database fetch table. Oh, we called it addresses without the configuration. We're gonna have to fix that, but that's fine. I think I just put the bar unnecessarily high with all that configuration. Let's go fast. Let's cut some corners. Why not? So table is called addresses, and we want to get we want new entity, and our data. Where do we copy our data from? We can do this, like so. Get rid of strings. then actually let's do this. Alright, reformat, and like so. And like so. So this is our new entity, and we can do this database fetch table addresses, save address, and return address. So this should store our entity. Oh, and ticket ID. That's pretty important. Because that's what joins our address with the ticket. And actually on the ticket we do have address ID. But in this case we're just gonna do the other one. So we just need to remove that column. It's no. So it's many to one instead of one to one. So ticket can have multiple addresses. And then they're loud out there mowing the grass. What's our time? 28 minutes. That will do. And so since this is done, now the best way would be to test it by writing a unit test. Fetch address. No, not the main object. BHR ticket address, but it can be nullable because address might not be there. So this will also tell us whether the address is there. So database fetch table addresses, and we're gonna do find where our ticket ID is our ticket ID. So now we could find more than one address. So let's keep it simple and let's just get first one. And actually we can just return this. Because first we'll return either an entity or null or array. Well, let's hope it doesn't return an array. Okay, which means now we can go to our tests and domain. Yeah, I'm not. Isn't there a ticketing service? No, I was working on the controllers, on the controller level. So in our domain, let's just add ticketing service test. Right, that will extend test case from cake test suite. Fixtures might be needed. Well, we can submit the ticket. Let's see. So first, let's test address persists. We need the ticket. That is first thing that we need, and it needs to be persisted. So let's do ticketing, or let's just call it service, new ticketing service with new database. Oops. Database service. So from our service we can persist ticket, which requires ticket domain object. That's what it required. Huh. Okay. Okay, let's work with this. So ticket object is new ticket, the main object, and we need ticket ID. We're gonna give it 1, 2. I don't think we do have validation, do we? Just in case. Name, test, email. Subject, repair, whatever, description, no description, why not? And the last argument is record ID, so that it tells us whether it's persisted or not. So, ticket entity is going to be returned. And that's what we want. Right? So we're not working with fixtures. We haven't loaded any fixtures. So we're going to create the data that we're going to need. Now we want address. So from service, we want to do save address. Yeah, we need to replace that, rename that, because persist address, because then I'll keep wondering whether it was save or no. Everything is that we persist is called persist. Okay, so we want ticket entity, shipping address name, rough 123 address, city Atlanta, zip 30100, 30100, state GA, and no info. Oh, actually, let's store info just so we can validate that it was stored. And that returns our address entity, right? And from service we can fetch address for this ticket entity, stored address, and we're gonna do assert equals, so our address entity. Now let's do, so expected is rough, and from our stored address we want to get BHR oh, not domain object address, from model. That's what we're returning. So BHR shipping name. That's what we want to see. And let's add 123 address to shipping address. So just these two will easily confirm that our persistence is working correctly. So it did pass, did it? Yeah, test address persists. Yeah, we don't have. Yeah. That is in ticketing service test. Here. Okay, argument 1 must be an instance of ticket identifier. Oh, okay. Like that. I could run just one test instead of running them all, but okay, it still failed. So let's just run one test. Didn't I just fix that? I just fixed that. Fetch address. Oh, persist address. Okay. Yeah. So I didn't. App model entity here. That is it. Let's run it again. And trying to get property of BHR shipping name of non-object. And ticketing service. Line 22. Line 22. That's constructor. That's not right. So we're working with PHP 8, I think. We start ticket ID. So let's first of all, let's correct a typo here. Let's see what we're returning. Is this gonna work? It will. Okay, our address entity is indeed address entity. We have fields, everything is filled. So this is working. Then fetch address. Oh, fetch address didn't return. Didn't return correctly. Did I not? Where is the ticket ID? Integer null is false. So did it not store? Okay, it may have. Let's see, because if it returned false over here, we didn't know. So if this is false, let's throw what was our, we had some custom exceptions, but let's just throw an exception here. Address cannot be stored, and that will be likely because of the validation. So let's run it, and yes, address cannot be stored. So we got false from this. So let's go to the addresses table. Let's add it first of all. Has many BHR tickets, foreign key, address ID. Has this been added just now? We don't need this. Now validation default, because if this returns false, oh, okay, the address to, we don't need to require presence of address to, and we don't need to require presence of this, but so the default okay, it defaults to not null, you know, and we don't really require anything. So let's fix the migration. That's too bad. Right, I forgot about that. Yeah, it will by default, and it's the same actually in the in Laravel. It will, if unless you mark it as nullable, it will default to not null. So address to true, and info true. The rest is required. The name, I'm not sure if the name is typically required on the shipping labels. Let's just also give it null to true. So now let's just do the quick version of it. Is this the one? It is, right? What is going on here? Let's just reset it, because I haven't restarted the PHP Storm in a long time. And meanwhile, I had the differences or changes to the infrastructure, the local infrastructure, and I haven't restarted, so this might be the reason why it's not cooperating. Let's see. There. Addresses. So we're going to drop this column or this table, and we're going to remove it from logs. This computer really tests your patience. And we're gonna migrate again. So if that worked, the test should pass now. And the test is passing. Okay, so we have the storage for the addresses, and when the user fills out the address, it is filled. Now in the next session, as you can see, we have a few failing tests because we made some changes here and there, and we haven't ran the tests in a while. So that's gonna be the plan for our next session. So we have address done, and number 1 item, fix unit tests, and fix the tech debt basically regarding unit tests. But that's gonna be for the next session. For this one, I think it'll do 45 minutes. Perfect timing. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.